Welcome back, dear viewers, to Tales Unfolded, the place where stories are peeled back layer by layer and where quiet questions are given room to breathe. Today's episode takes us to a day that reshaped a generation, September 11th, 2001. This is not a forensic report, nor an accusation. It is a story, framed carefully, asked gently, meant to prompt thought in a world that still feels the echoes. On a clear Tuesday morning, the skyline of New York glinted with routine, suits rushing to meetings, coffee in hand, the towers standing like twin markers of a city's ambition. In the span of minutes, everything changed. Airliners, symbols of modern travel and connection, became instruments of devastation. Glass shattered, steel bent, and flames wrote brief, terrible signatures across the sky. Two towers that had once seemed eternal collapsed into dust and memory. Across the globe, people watched in stunned silence as familiar certainties crumbled. The official narrative established through investigations and judicial findings, say signs, responsibility to a network of extremists who hijacked aircraft and struck at the heart of American commerce. Yet stories do not always sit easily within single explanations. Even as nations grieved, other questions began to circulate in corners of public imagination. How could a handful of individuals breach so many layers of security? Why did one building, later known as Building 7, fall despite not being directly hit by a plane? These questions did not, and do not, amount to proof of alternate schemes, but they did spark curiosity and debate. History is uneven, and consequences are multifold. Almost immediately after the attacks, the world witnessed sweeping changes. A new vocabulary of security, surveillance, military campaigns that stretched years into decades, and industries' defense, intelligence, construction that surged with urgency and funding. Laws shifted, borders hardened, and thousands of lives were rerouted. For many, the events of that day justified dramatic policy moves. For others, the same events raised uneasy thoughts about who benefits when fear becomes policy. There is power in asking who stands to gain from sudden seismic change. Sometimes the answer is straightforward. Those who provide what a frightened nation demands: security, arms, infrastructure. Other times it is murkier, entangled with geopolitics, economic interests, and the private motives of individuals and corporations. It is worth noting, though, that complexity is not proof of conspiracy. It is the texture of modern life, where cause and consequence tangle in unexpected ways. What remains undeniable are the human costs, the thousands of lives extinguished, families altered forever, and a collective sense of vulnerability etched into public consciousness. The tower's fall was more than a structural collapse. It was an erosion of a kind of innocence. People learned anew the fragility of built things and the volatility of global systems. The debate that followed among scholars, journalists, and ordinary citizens has been less about erasing loss and more about making sense of it. At Tales Unfolded, we do not claim to hold the final key. We aim to uncover the layers that shape a story, to present what is known, what is contested, and what lingers in the shadows. The events of September 11th can be read through many lenses: terrorism and law enforcement, intelligence failures and heroic rescue efforts, geopolitical strategy, and the economics of warfare. Each lens reveals part of the picture and hides another. So, as you reflect on that morning, consider this. Was it solely the work of those who planned and executed the attacks, or did the aftermath also serve as a pivot point, one that reconfigured power policy and profit in ways some found useful? The truth may be both simpler and more complicated than any single theory. It may live in facts, in speculation, and in the quiet intersections between them. Thank you for joining us on Tales Unfolded. We invite you to think critically, listen respectfully, and explore openly. If this story stirred questions, leave them below. Let the conversation continue. Until next time, keep asking, keep seeking, and remember, a revealed tale does not always close the book on truth. Sometimes it only opens another chapter.